Here we are. Parshas Dvarim, new Chumash, right? Which new Chumash, new beginnings, new time to rededicate ourselves to learning the weekly Parsha. And we're 37 days away from Moses' passing. And he has a message for the Jews, right? So let's today's lesson is going to be about being your own boss. It's from a mimer that the Rebbe delivered exactly 50 years ago, 1976. But in order to understand the context of today's Parsha, we have to also go back to the middle of the book of Bamidbar, where we talk about the spies. And the context is that Moses is reviewing to the Jewish people what had happened earlier. Like, look, we tried sending spies. They failed miserably. They scared us all away and delayed our entry to the land. Don't make the same mistake, right? So let's see source one. Larry, if you want to start us off. This is Moses talking.
Yeah, the spies sent by Moses. All of you approached me and said, let us send men ahead of us so that they will search out the land for us and bring us back word by which route we shall go up, and which cities we shall come, and to which cities we shall come. The matter pleased me, so I took 12 men from you, one man for each tribe. They turned and went up to the mountain, and they came to the valley of Eshcol and spied it out. They took some of the fruit of the land in their hands and brought it down to us, brought us back word and said, the land our God is giving us is good. But you did not want to go up, and you rebelled against the commandment of your God.
Okay. So Moses is reviewing the fact that when he tried sending spies, it was an abject failure by and large, right?
Of course, why is he berating you? This is a new generation of people. Like the older ones have died off.
Because you got to blame the Jews, you know?
Yeah, but you're blaming the children of the Jews.
But they're also Jews. That's a fair question. No, it's a good question.
Maybe to reinforce the oral tradition,
what do you mean?
because the children only know about what happened at Mount Sinai for word of
Right.
mouth if they weren't there.
Right.
And if they weren't there when their parents rebelled. But the story is, remember, this is what
Right.
happened.
No, but he's questioning though the wording of, but you did not want to go up, as if it was the same people. But I guess it's the proverbial you. You the people.
Personified.
Right. All right, now we're gonna go to the other set of spies after Moses passes away. Joshua is the leader, and wasting no time, he sends spies. Hey, wait a second. That doesn't sound like a good idea, considering.
No, he knew exactly what was there, so he knew. Joshua knew.
Okay, well let's see, Steve, source two.
Joshua, the son of Nun, sent two men out to Shittim to spy secretly, saying, go see the land of Jericho. They went and came to the house of an innkeeper named Rahab, and they lay there. It was told to the king of Jericho, saying, behold, men have come here this night from the children of Israel to search the land.
So normally a new leader comes in, he has to feel his way around in the dark before making any major decisions. But Joshua didn't waste any time. Even while they were in the middle of mourning the passing of Moses, he sent spies to scout out the land and figure out what's the best way for the Jewish people to enter the promised land.
The two men returned and descended from the mountain, crossed over, and came to Joshua, the son of Nun, and told him what had happened to them. They said to Joshua, for the Lord has delivered into our hand all the land the inhabitants of the country have also melted away because of us.
Okay, so that's cherry picking the beginning and the end of the whole story. But ultimately they succeeded in their mission. They came with a good report, and as a result, the Jews entered the land, they conquered Jericho. Doo-doo-doo-doo, with the shofars, the walls came tumbling down, and it was fantastic.
Wait a minute, he was only there at night? They were there for the night. The men have come here this night from the children of Israel to search the land. And then
Well,
they
this
go
is
back.
just an excerpt of the whole chapter 1 of Joshua, or chapter 2 of
We're
Joshua.
getting the abridged version.
Yeah. But the bottom line is he sent spies, they came back, they gave him a report. It was all good. They made a deal. They're going to tie a red string outside the house so they know which one it is. And they said they'll protect her and
Mhm.
her family and all that. So let's see the differences between these two spy missions. Says the Rebbe like this. The Alter Rebbe explains the difference between the spies sent by Joshua and those sent by Moses. Regarding the spies sent by Moses, the Torah says, Shlach lecha, send for yourself, which our sages explain to mean, yo, leave me out of this. No, that's not what they didn't say, yo. This is your decision. I am not commanding you. By contrast, the spies sent by Joshua were dispatched not on his own initiative, but by divine command. So that's one key difference. Moses got God's approval. Joshua received God's command. There's another difference as well. Joshua's spies were sent only to Jericho, the gateway to the land of Israel, and this sufficed to survey the land. Moses' spies, however, traveled through the length and breadth of the land, of the country. So those are two key points between the two sets of spies. Sarah, I got you some soup.
Oh, this is good stuff.
It is good.
Let me just move this out of the way. So I took it off early.
Oh,
So yeah, those are the two differences. Sent by God or approved by God. Sent to the whole land or sent just to the key of the land, to the gateway drug, Jericho. All right. So let's talk about conquering the land today, since what does that mean today? We're not spies, we're not conquering the land. I mean, other than I won't name names, but other than those of us who work for the Mossad, you know, especially those of you watching on YouTube. Yeah. Okay. Conquering the land today. Joe, you want to read a little bit, or you're not up for that yet?
the differences?
Conquering the land.
The further.
Conquering the land.
Yeah.
To further explain where the two groups of spies differed, we will first explain a concept discussed in the Hasidic teachings. Although we are currently exiled from our land due to our sins, there remains even today a spiritual counterpart to the land of Israel, and its conquest. Even after our own exile from it, the land of Israel is still our land, and our bond with it is maintained through the spiritual work that parallels its conquest. The same is true regarding the temple sacrifices.
Okay. Yeah.
The same is true regarding temple sacrifices. Our sages institute prayer to correspond to the daily offerings, so that through prayer, we can continue for them in a spiritual sense, even after the destruction of the temple. Torah study also achieves this goal. As our sages teach, whoever studies the laws of the burnt offering is considered as though he has actually offered one. This applies even when a person is studying at night, when sacrifices may not be brought outside the land of Israel and after the temple's destruction.
So that's pretty interesting, that I guess the benefit of studying about the sacrifices versus bringing them is you're only allowed to bring sacrifices in their allotted time, but you're allowed to study about the sacrifices at any time.
Hmm.
So that's somewhat of an advantage that we have in doing the sacrifices in the verbal sense.
Yeah,
The virtual sense.
Virtual sense, but verbal, because we're reciting the words. Yeah.
similarly, by engaging in the spiritual work that corresponds to conquering the land of Israel, we connect to the land as it existed before the exile. Moreover, this spiritual work serves as a preparation that ultimately leads to the future physical conquest of the land of Israel, including the fulfillment of the verse. And the Lord your God expands your borders.
Yeah.
There are two approaches to this spiritual conquest. One corresponds to the spies sent by Moshe, which was undertaken as a matter of personal judgment. This is your decision. I'm not commanding you. The other approach corresponds to the spies sent by Joshua, whose mission was carried out by God's explicit command.
Okay. So we're busy conquering Israel,
Yeah,
spiritually, that is,
yeah,
which prepares us for actually conquering it. And there's two ways of conquering it. There's conquering it in the, hands off, Moses, if you want to do this, if not, like, it's totally fine with me either way. Versus the Joshua command, which was, very much an explicit command. Yeah, go get him.
why would the Almighty be different with the two between the two of them?
What's
Why,
that?
why would he let Moses, yeah, make it your decision? And Joshua, it's like, yeah, you got to do this.
That's exactly the question we're trying to address and see why there's that difference.
Hmm.
And especially like what's the definition of insanity? Try the same thing and expect different results, right?
Yeah,
So why is Joshua sending spies? Well, I guess one question answers the other question partially. Well, he's sending them because God explicitly commanded him to. He wouldn't. If we're up to him, he's like, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. But God commanded him to, so there was no room for his own opinion.
I think he would have done it with such a person as you should. He was such a great general. There was no way that he would have never gone in and taken it. It's
Joshua.
just- yeah, I don't think he needed the spies.
Well, God thought he did.
Well, it's just no, it gives you the land of the lay of the land.
The lay of the land, right? They probably bought some maps. That's what happened. They entered the headquarters of Waze.
No, because
And-
another number of thing is that because the spies, found someone who was you would help their cause. So
Right.
that's the
That was
biggest-
key. Yeah, she wasn't just innkeeper that let them stay overnight, but she actually helped them
Right.
figure it out.
was she saved because of that?
Yes, she was.
Thread.
Yes, that's right. The red thread outside the window. Okay, Larry, your turn. Jericho's Fragrance, which is, by the way, a very profitable perfume company. If you would start a company with that.
There's one in Rome that's been in existence continuously since 1251.
Rome's Fragrance.
Florence.
Ah,
What perfumery
ah.
in existence since.
But we'll see that Rome and perfume have nothing to do with each other, or Florence for that matter. Might have to do with flowers. But Jericho has a lot to do with fragrance,
Yes.
as you're about to tell us.
Speaking of fragrances. The explanation is as follows. As noted above, Joshua sent his spies only to Jericho. The name Jericho or Jericho is related to the Hebrew word for fragrance, Rhea. The Alter Rebbe explains that the spiritual significance of Jericho centers on the concept of fragrance. Fragrance is not the object itself, but only its scent, an expression of or emanation of it. In this vein, the Talmud asks, what is something that the soul enjoys while the body does not? And answers, fragrance. Likewise, the verse says, the fragrance of your countenance is like apples, indicating that the fragrance is not part of the apple's actual substance. Fragrance corresponds to the soul's three garments. It is its thought, speech, and action, which is not the essence of the soul itself. This then is the inner meaning of Jericho, the fulfillment of mitzvot through the soul's garments of thought, speech, and action.
Hmm.
Fragrance.
So, so the word Yericho comes from the word reach, which means fragrance. So there's the fragrance which touches the soul because how do you explain the practical benefit of fragrance to the body? It's a soul level. It's a deeper level of enjoyment, of benefit. But our thought, speech, and deed, that's not the essence of the soul. And the whole idea of the soul is to utilize the thought, speech, and deed, which are garments of the soul. As you see here, this is called garments of the soul. So, Steve, let's talk about the land of Israel, the 7 emotional traits.
The land of Israel represents love and awe of God, and more broadly, the 7 emotional traits. This is reflected in the fact that it was the land of the 7 nations.
Previously, though,
It was,
Previously,
I don't
The land.
know that.
that it was previously the land of 7 nations.
The fact that it was the land of the 7 nations corresponding, that's what mine says.
okay.
Well, we read it differently.
That's so strange.
Isn't it? Now you guys, bug off.
You just do everything different, dude.
I thought it was printed from the same,
It should be.
You
Yeah.
guys.
Okay. Fine. You win.
7 inches, corresponding to the 7 traits within, and I have another within. The individual, these traits are not merely the soul's garments, but the inner facilities, its intellect and emotions, which are part of the person themselves. I think I got my own personal copy here, just for me. Emotions, which are part of the person themselves. In terms of divine service, they're expressed through love and awe of God.
Okay, so let's pause over there for a moment. Okay, so we have the number 7, right? There's 7 nations in the land of Israel, corresponding to the 7 emotions that we have. And those are the expressions of the soul, the faculties of the soul, which is more than just a garment. A garment is a thing you wear outside your body. A faculty is something within your body. It's a function of your body. Okay, so let's recap. The name Jericho, Yericho, from the word reach, is related to each other. Reach means fragrance. So the Zohar explains that fragrance symbolizes the soul's garments that surround a person externally. Unlike food, which enters the body and becomes part of your flesh and blood, fragrance is not experienced in the same embedded way, right? You eat food, it becomes part of your DNA. It nourishes your body. Fragrance, yes, certainly it goes through your nose, but in the sense of the benefit and the effect on the body is superficial, right? It's like, you're not going to open up somebody during a brain scan and be like, "Ooh, you've been smelling a lot of cloves," unless you shove the cloves up your nose. You're not gonna find it there, right?
Right.
Whereas the food that you ate is certainly very much a part of you. So fragrance remains outside the body and it's experienced in a superficial way. So in that way, fragrance is analogous to clothing. It's related to the body, but it's outside the body. So when we talk about clothing or garments of the soul, our thought, speech, and action are considered the garments of the soul. They're not the essence of the person, but they're the means through which the soul expresses itself outwardly, right? So if you're going to meet up for a tennis match, you're going to put on a t-shirt and shorts because that you want to present yourself as a tennis player. If you're going into a business meeting, you might put on a suit and tie because you want to present yourself as a business person, right? So the soul could present itself in this way, it could present itself in that way. But neither behavior is descriptive of the soul itself. So again, going back to Israel, we have Yericho, which is smell. Smell is superficial. Superficiality is represented by garments, which can be added or removed at will. But when we talk about the land of Israel, meaning the 7 nations that live in the land of Israel, what's that analogous to within each of ourselves? It represents the 7 character traits. So if we're talking about the 7 Canaanite nations in the land of Israel, we're talking about the 7 negative character traits that we have in our animal soul, which are trying to pull us into all sorts of traps and all sorts of schemes to pull you away from what you're supposed to do. It's sometimes referred to Hagoy asher bekirbecha, the non-Jew within you that's pulling you away. And then so the job that we have when we enter the land of Israel and we find all these foreign adversarial nations in the land, our job is to chase them out and to replace them. Similarly, in our own body, if we find ourselves having a lot of influence from the Goya Shebekirvacha, from the negative traits within you, you have to replace those traits, drive them out, and replace them with 7 points of spiritual strength. Joe, we're up to you. Between the Tzaddik and the Benoni.
Right. This explains why Joshua was commanded to send spies only to Jericho. Thought, speech, and action are under a person's control. Therefore, every individual is commanded to examine these 3, quote, garments, unquote, of the soul and ensure that they are devoted entirely to God. The heart's emotions, however, are not under everyone's control. As our sages say, only the righteous rule over their hearts. This can be understood in light of the explanation in Tanya regarding the difference between the righteous individual, tzaddik, and the intermediate individual, Benoni. The primary focus of the Benoni spiritual work is the soul's garments, thought, speech, and action. This is why the level of Benoni is attainable for every person. Even when the heart is filled with desire and temptation, we have the ability to restrain ourselves, to master those desires, to prevent them from finding expression, thought, action, speech, or even deliberate thought. We have the ability to redirect our mind entirely from the temptation.
So a few points to mention. Number one is thought is constantly flowing. Our brains are always thinking about something. If not, you might be dead. You might want to consult a doctor about that. Right. Or you might not be aware that you need to consult a doctor, right? If your mind's not thinking about anything. However, we have the ability to switch out the CD or whatever and have it play something else, right? The VCR, sorry. The video in your mind, the ideas that are flowing through your mind can be deliberately swapped out for something else. So yeah, sometimes by default, our mind wanders off in places that we don't know how we got there. I think the story is with the Baal Shem Tov, that he approached a Jew who just finished the Amidah on whatever day it was. And the Baal Shem Tov told him, Shalom Aleichem, nice to see you, welcome back. He says, Rabbi, I was here this morning, I was here yesterday, I was here last week, I haven't traveled recently. And you've seen me several times in the recent past. Says, yes, but while you were davening Shemona Esrei, you got on your horse, you went to Leipzig, you sold some coats, you bought some merchandise, you got back on the horse, and here you are. Oh, wait, time up. Oisa Shalom Imreimav. So welcome back. Shalom Aleichem. Right? So our mind flows sometimes. If we don't get a grip on it, it does flow. It's constantly flowing. But we still have the choice, and the control is within our capability to decide what we will think about. So even thought we could control. Certainly we can control what we say, seal our lips if need be. And I have a roll of duct tape if nothing else works. But we could control our mouths and certainly our actions, right? These are things that we're able to control. Now you're going to tell me, oh, if only you would know what I want to be up to right now. Yeah, I have no business being at this class. I really want to be at fill in the blank. That doesn't change your thought, speech, and deed, right? Because you could want one thing and you could consciously decide to do something else. Now, what's the difference between a tzaddik and a Beinoni, as explained in Tanya? A tzaddik is a completely righteous person, meaning that their desires are only good desires, only godly, soul-oriented desires. And so they have a soul-oriented desire and they act on those desires. It's smooth sailing. But the Beinoni, the regular person, the intermediary person, the person who is able to make good choices even if they have not such good impulses, that's every one of us. It's up to us at every given moment to be a Beinoni in that moment. So that ability to control our thought, speech, and deed, that's what we're talking about when we talk about going to Yericho. Yehoshua, as the leader of the Jewish people, is telling us that we have to conquer Yericho. We have to conquer our thought, speech, and deed, because that's something we can do. You want to conquer your will and your desire? That's a whole nother level. That might be beyond our pay grade for some of us. But at least the thought, speech, and deed, that's something that we're able to do. So it says in Tanya, in chapter 12, that the mind naturally rules over the heart. In other words, if you think like, well, my temptations are too strong, not true. God created us in such a way that our mind has more say and more willpower than the heart. And so the mind, if strengthened and exercised appropriately, is able to control any heart desire that we may have. In other words, we may have an emotion or have an impulse to want something, but our mind is able to control that desire and prevent it from acting on that want and to choose to do the right thing. Now, just to go back to the idea of thought, how the thought's always flowing, but what you think about and how to switch out the VCR, that's in our choice. Another way of putting that is that the first choice, the first thought that enters your mind, that you don't always have freedom of choice over. Thoughts appear, they pop in, it happens. The question is, what's going to be the second thought? The second thought, that's up to us to choose, the conscious choice of what to think about. So the bottom line is, we're in control. Yes, we're not angels. We have temptations. We have other interests. Not always do we want to do exactly what Shulchan Aruch, what the Code of Jewish Law tells us to do, what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
But we are able to do that. And the proof is, you can do it for 5 minutes. Right? Anybody could do almost anything for 5 minutes. So why can't you do it for 6 minutes? What's the fundamental difference? There is no fundamental difference. It's just a matter of exercise. And if you can do it for 6 minutes, you can do it for 10 minutes. And you can do it for an hour. You can do it for a day, a week, a month, a year, a lifetime, right? There's no fundamental difference at any point that says, oh, I wasn't meant to be. I wasn't meant to be able to do it this way. It's like, well, I saw you doing it for 5 minutes. You managed through that. You're just getting overwhelmed. You're not getting a grip on your thoughts, and therefore dictating how your actions should come out in actuality. So over here, the Rebbe goes back talking about the tzaddik. The tzaddik, by contrast, focuses primarily on transforming the heart's emotions themselves, cultivating love and awe of God. Now, this is not a level that everyone merits to attain, because matters of the heart are not subject to the same degree of free choice. So, to be clear, yes, we can grow in our love of God, right? Some of us love lentil soup. Some of us love sushi. Some of us love praying. Now, some of us, our sushi to prayer ratio, that's why we have services, sushi, and scotch to include everybody over here. But some of us are.
As long as you don't have meatloaf, I'm good.
We'll have just the right people waiting for you with the meatloaf.
Oh, God.
So,
Shouldn't like meatloaf.
inside.
Yes.
Anyways, so some of us, our sushi to prayer ratio is a little lopsided in favor of the sushi. Now, why do we pray? Ultimately, if we think about it, it's because we do enjoy something about praying. Maybe that enjoyment got a little murky. Maybe it got a little. Somebody just cleaned out their pond recently. It got algae. It got all sorts of things covering over that true desire of why we want to pray. And basically we look at prayer at some point as like, whatever, I'm not so interested. So the job that we have to do is to pull away some of those layers and realize, yes, we do love praying. Why do we love praying? Because we love God and we want to have a relationship with Him. Now, yeah, some of that might sound like a little abstract and a little theoretical because there's so much algae and all sorts of other things covering over our love for God. And that's something that we need to work on. And maybe some of us will always have a little stain on that to some degree or another. Maybe not like the tzaddik who just is infatuated with pure godliness. And he says, matters of the heart are not subject to the same degree of free choice, right? We can't just choose to love prayer over sushi. Like, what do you want from my life? I love sushi. I can't help it, right? I can help whether I choose to act on that love, on that desire, but the feeling, the desire, you can't hold that against me,
Well, it depends how hungry you are too.
right?
Literally in the case of sushi.
Yes, this is true. But you can have crackers and asparagus for
Most
the
sadics
same
I
price.
know are rails.
What?
Really?
Most sadics I know are rails.
Super skinny.
Yes.
The rails.
Yeah, it definitely generally doesn't go with the.
Go without eating,
Uh,
'cause they don't eat it.
well,
The beef
I don't know. I
Vindaloo.
beg to differ. I believe the Rebbe Maharash was a little thicker.
Would you?
I think so. Friedrich Rebbe. So I don't know. I don't know if it
He was messed up. I mean,
beaten
he
up.
wasn't beaten
Yes, physically beaten. True. Whatever. I'm not getting into that. You know, a person. Listen, you can have bad metabolism and be eating fairly decent food. That's not the point of here. The point is, are you able to control the fact that you desire something? Not fully, but what you do about that desire is something you can control. So the Rebbe continues, for this reason, when Moses sent spies to survey the entire land of Israel, symbolizing the task of refining all of one's emotional traits, the Torah says, send them if you wish. I'm not commanding you, right? Because Moses is sending the spies where? to the essence of the land, to the seven emotions, to the core of the soul. And he's like, look, I can't hold everyone to that standard. So you could send them if you wish. Complete transformation of one's emotions is possible only through the revelation of the spiritual level represented by Moses. And it's not equally attainable by everyone. So that's why Joshua, who's sending the spies to Jericho, which represents our thought, speech, and deed, it's mandatory. He sent, it's commanded to every single Jew who reads this. But Moses, who's sending the spies to the seven nations of Israel, which represents our actual emotions and our DNA, our spiritual DNA, that's not something we can necessarily change. And so God doesn't command him to send the spies. He's like, yeah, you could send them. Yeah, you could take a crack at it. You can work on refining your midas. What's the word he uses? I lost this place. Your avava yira, your love and awe of God, right? You could work on that. You can take a crack at that, and you can make some headway. That's fair. But to totally eradicate any negative feelings and desires, that's not quite within a person's reach. So
That's why I say it's harder to be a Benami than it is to be a Tzaddik. Once you got you're a Tzaddik, you have it down.
pretty much it's smooth sailing once you're a tzaddik. That's true.
Yep. Been there, done that.
There's a story that's told of a chassid who once came.
Lightning's gonna strike.
Yeah.
I missed that. Well, tell me after. So a chassid once came to the Maggid of Mezrich. He was asking for the Maggid's advice on how to rid himself of distracting and inappropriate thoughts. So the Maggid told this chassid, I don't have the solution for you, but you should go visit Rabbi Zev Wolf of Zhitomir. So by the time the chassid arrived in Zhitomir to visit Rabbi Zev Wolf, it was already night. People were sleeping. So he couldn't go around the marketplace as you would normally do when you come to a town. You go to the marketplace and you have enough of a pool of people to ask. So he had to, kind of do some guessing, but he finally found the rabbi's home and he knocks on the door. He knocked for many hours and Rabbi Zev Wolf didn't answer the door until the morning. So after the morning prayers, the chassid went into Rabbi Zev Wolf and told him that the Maggid sent me here to learn how to gain control over unwanted thoughts. So over the next few days, the chassid carefully observed Rabbi Zev Wolf's conduct, but he's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to see here. I don't see the magic sauce in controlling my thoughts. He lived like any other person. Every evening, he locked the gate of his courtyard, and there was a little small gap underneath the gate, so he wedged a wooden bar underneath to kind of seal the opening completely. And after several days, the chassid approached Rabbi Zev Wolf and said, look, the Maggid sent me here to learn how to master my thoughts. But I don't see what I'm supposed to learn from you. You're just a regular guy. So Rabbi Zev Wolf said, I want you to look carefully. If you pay attention, you'll realize that from the moment you arrived to my house, I've been teaching you that a person must be the master of what belongs to him. You came to my house after midnight, knocked for hours, but I didn't open up the door until I chose to. You also saw that every night I lock my gate so thieves can't enter, and I place a wooden bar underneath it so that even smaller creatures, non-human creatures, can't slip underneath and cause any damage. He says, now that might look very extraordinary. It's pretty normal, right? He says, but the same example applies to the human mind. You have to say Shema at night with concentration. And you have to, which is a way of being the master of your thoughts. decide which thoughts you're going to allow to enter and which thoughts you're going to tell them to wait outside the door. And this enforces a well-known Hasidic way of life, which is that in some way the most important prayer of the day is not Shachris, not Mincha, not Ma'ariv, but Kriya Shema Shalamita, the Shema before going to bed. Because, some of the text over there talks about demons and swords protecting you around your bed. But you know what it's really about? It's about the bedtime thoughts that might enter.
Oh, yeah,
And that's where,
Your dreams,
yeah,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're 1/60th of death and you're more vulnerable. In that
that or just, the normal human hormones that kick in at night. And Hasidim always put an emphasis on taking the time to lock your doors at night, essentially, your mind doors, to make sure that only thoughts that are safe and appropriate and Jewish will enter. Everything else, it's got to wait outside, because no entry, no trespassing here, because I'm in charge. I'm in charge of my mind. And that doesn't happen without intentionality. That's something that we have to put work into. You can't just say, well, I wish I had better thoughts or better dreams at night. No, you have to get up there, arm yourself, say a serious Kriya Shema at night, really think about the words. There's a booklet I have, maybe I'll show you after. When I was a teenager, they gave it out. It was just a way of like enhancing the bedtime Shema with some commentary on it and then some. That's the idea. We got to be in control, not just of our actions and our speech, that we all know, but even our thoughts. We have to really make sure that we're in the right place. Get your head out of the gutter, as they say. So let's continue with page 7, Larry. The Torah is eternal.
righteousness for all. The Rebbe. The Torah is eternal. Therefore, the account of Moses sending spies to survey the entire land, although representing a mode of divine service generally beyond our reach, also contains an eternal lesson for every Jew.
Yeah, so that's if this isn't your first time learning any of the Rebbe's teachings, I'm sure you've heard something along these lines, that everything we read is an eternal lesson. Whether we're actually taking a lamb and bringing it up a 32-foot ramp and sacrificing it upon an altar today or tomorrow, that's not the point. The point is, what are the lessons that we learn for what we are doing in our lives, and how can that impact what we're doing? So we are all capable of applying Joshua's mission of conquering the land, which is directing our thought, speech, and deed where they're supposed to be. But the question is, what can we learn from Moses' spies if we're not tzaddikim, if we're not able to completely transform our core? Keep going.
Every Jew is adjured at the very beginning of his or her life, quote, be it tzaddik, unquote. As explained at length in Tanya, every person is expected to strive toward the spiritual work of the tzaddik as well.
Yeah, so there's a saying, halavai beinoni, if only you can be a beinoni, right? Even that's quite a difficult attainment.
Yeah.
But you should still, even though you may not and will likely not achieve the level of tzaddik, you should still strive to behave in a way that's characteristic of the tzaddik, which means that we should try to achieve some level of distaste for anything that's against God's will. That anytime something that arises as an opportunity for us, which is against God's will, it should be something that is to some degree distasteful. And anytime there's something that is God's will, it should be exciting for us. Yeah. And that even our physical hearts and our real experienced life in this world should enjoy the things that God desires, and and despise the thing that God doesn't.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Is there anything lower than abandoning?
Yeah, Russia.
yeah.
So it goes from all the way.
Yeah,
Well, Russia is not
But
purely evil.
yeah, but
Russia is someone who has more of a propensity for evil. But in the way that Tanya describes a Beinoni, most of us are not even the level of a Beinoni. So it would put us in somewhere in the spectrum of Russia. Yeah.
Uh,
That's a harsh judgment.
Well,
You know, I mean,
only if you look at Russia in the conventional sense that Russia means you're mostly evil.
but on the
We're not
other-
saying that. We're just saying that sometimes we do things that are not just and
but
correct.
then on the other hand, anybody that strives to become a tzaddik is a Beinoni. Because,
Yeah.
yes, so.
Well, it depends. You can be a Russia and striving to be a tzaddik, but you're not fixing the actual behavior along the way.
Well, to attain tzaddikhood.
Yes, you
it's not
cannot
like-
bypass
but
being
you
a
can-
Beinoni.
Because you can attain more closely aligned to being a Beinoni, the more you have desires toward such aspirations.
Correct. In other words, you can go for here and get closer to here along the way.
Like a
Yeah.
very poorly lit candle, it's just barely flickering, right? But then finally it ignites, becomes more engulfed in the flame.
Right. And often that happens when you tease it with something that's flammable further away.
Yeah.
It stretches it.
True.
so how many tzaddiks have you met in your life?
I don't have a tzaddik radar to know.
You know, I always considered Rabbi Rychek a tzaddik because he was always, you know, he always had a plan.
But the thing is, you can't tell on the outside if somebody's a Beinoni or a tzaddik.
Right. But but you could feel it with him. I mean, there's people that when you're around him, you feel it.
But maybe he just was a Beinoni and he really was battling internal struggles constantly,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'll just tell you that his favorite nigun was the Beinoni. I don't know what that says. I mean, I'm not making any.
Well, I think if you're a
Presupposition.
tzaddik in the first place, you're gonna think that, yes, you're a Beinoni because you're gonna try even harder.
Yes, exactly.
and harder.
Yeah.
I hear no, but the tzaddik doesn't mean you don't try.
Right.
Moshe Rabbeinu also tried and put in effort.
Bill, you see, didn't. He struck
See,
the
there
rock.
Right.
was a Persian rabbi in Beverly Hills, who's head of the Persian, Rabbi Shafat. And
Mhm.
he was, I mean, you'd be in his presence, you'd feel his presence. I mean, you do feel that presence.
Look, absolutely, there are tzaddikim, people who have better antennas and reception
Right.
than most of us. So and there's
I mean, as a little kid, I was in awe of
Mhm.
Rabbi Rychek. I mean, he just, I would want to just screw around, and I don't know, just something around him. He always
You
had
could-
that smile, and he had those eyes that would just go up like this because they're a medium, and he go like this, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
There was just something about it.
we want more of this before I finish it.
Go ahead. All right, where are we up to? Source 3.
Right.
Steve, I think we're up to your turn, right? You just
Yeah.
read?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nevertheless, a person should set aside regular times, devise strategies to develop a sense of repulsion of evil. This can be achieved by reflecting that all pleasures and delights of this world ultimately decay. For their end is to rot and become worms and refuse.
Right? It's like you think about it. You look at a piece of steak. And I can say this tonight because we can't eat meat for the next 9 days except for Shabbos. So you look at a piece of steak and you're like, oh, it looks so good. Now think about it. What would happen if you didn't eat that steak?
It would rot.
It would rot. It would attract flies and bugs and perhaps some mice and rodents. It's disgusting. It just temporarily, it looks good. Right? And that's what all the hoopla is about. That in this moment it looks great, right? But if you think about it, you're like, it's all going into the same waste what's it called?
Waste heap.
Waste heap as everything else, you know?
Turns out.
Yeah, it turns to exactly. Beep.
I wasn't gonna say it because you got recorded.
Conversely,
Conversely, one should delight and rejoice in God through contemplating to the extent of one's ability and greatness of God. Even if one knows within oneself that this level can truly be attained and that it exists only in one's imagination, and one should nevertheless do one's part in fulfilling the oath administered to every soul. Be righteous, then God will do what is good in his eyes.
okay. So we got to do our part, and because we were told before we came down into this world to be a tzaddik, meaning to try to be a tzaddik. Doesn't mean we have to achieve it. To achieve it is something that only God could grant us, and He'll do whatever is best for us. If we're meant to get that crown, then we'll get it. If not, we'll keep fighting. You know, keep doing the good work, the good effort. So we do have to conquer the seven nations, meaning we do have to try to change our essence and our spiritual DNA as well to be one that's drawn towards godliness. I want to read the next thing about conquering the land of the seven nations, an eternal lesson.
Yeah, sure. Hang on a hot second.
Well, hang on a lukewarm
Conquering
second.
the land of the seven nations already. This also explains how the command to destroy the seven nations and conquer their land remains an eternal instruction in every generation. Spiritually, conquering the land of the seven nations represents transforming the seven emotional traits of the animalistic soul into holiness. All of this level is associated with the spiritual work of the tzaddik. Not everyone merits to achieve this. Every Jew is nevertheless obligated to do everything within their ability to fulfill the oath to be a tzaddik. This is why the Torah records Moses sending of the spies to survey the entire land. This narrative teaches us that every Jew should examine and refine their emotional traits so they are all directed towards the service of God. Nevertheless, regarding Moses' spies, the Torah says, "Send them if you wish. I'm not commanding you." Because the primary command applies to thought, speech, and action. The spiritual conquest symbolized by Jericho. These are areas over which every person has been given control. The emotions of the heart, however, are of a different nature.
Okay. So let's see. Why is it so hard? Why is it so flippin' hard to change ourselves, right? Why is refining character so difficult? The Rebbe says like this: the reason why thought, speech, and action are under a person's control, while the emotions of the heart are not, is that thought, speech, and action are merely the soul's garments. So that's the key. You can act for 5 minutes like a tzaddik, right? You can think like a tzaddik. You can think tzaddik thoughts for 5 minutes. You can talk like a tzaddik for 5 minutes. You can act like a tzaddik. You can behave like one for 5 minutes, right? And therefore, for longer than that, because like we said, there's no inherent difference. But to really have emotions of a tzaddik for 5 minutes, it's like, I barely could put up with God. You want me to love him? like we have a long way to go in our relationship, let me tell you. You know, so why is that so difficult? And the answer he's saying is because the external things are like garments. The same is true of physical clothing, says Rebbe. Although people need clothing for reasons of modesty and also for protection from heat and cold, they are still able to remove them. Moreover, we are not bound to the particular clothes we are wearing at any given moment and can replace them with others. Similarly, the soul's garments can be changed. Speech and action can be removed, and even thought, which is continuous, can be replaced with a different thought. Intellect and emotions, however, are part of the soul's very essence. Changing them, therefore, requires sustained effort and ultimately special empowerment from above. So, why are they called garment? Why are speech, thought, and action, thought, speech, and action called the garments of the soul? Because they're not part of our essential being, just like clothing isn't a part of us. Through thought, we reveal ideas and feelings to ourselves. Through speech, we reveal thoughts and feelings to others. We express them to others. Through actions, our decisions and desires are brought into reality. So they're external instruments through which our soul expresses what's going on inside of it. So that can be changed out relatively easily. But the emotions and the intellect are the very essence of the soul, and they're an integral part of our personality. So to transform our character traits is a much more difficult task, right? You can act like a tzaddik for a short time. You can act like a Beinoni for a short time. But why is it so hard to maintain it? It's because on the inside, we have to change something more fundamental, and that's much more difficult. It's not, you can't just command somebody to want something different. So the only way that we can transform ourselves on the inside is by getting a gift from above, helping us accomplish an internal transformation.
How does one know if one has been given this special empowerment?
Keep trying and you'll find out, or you won't. But you always have to keep trying. You have to act. The point is, actually, the point over here isn't how do I achieve internal transformation? The point is actually stop making internal transformation the goal. Make the external transformation the goal. Make the thoughts indeed the goal to think, speak, and act the way I'm supposed to. Because
Difficult.
what's that?
Thought's difficult.
It is difficult, but it's possible.
Fair
You could focus, right? If I told you don't think about a pink elephant for a minute, right? You could not think about a pink elephant for a minute, although actually that's probably going to make you think about it.
Unless you get
but-
really drunk.
What's
Because there's an American expression, especially during the 40s, is when you got really drunk, that's what you would see were pink elephants.
got it?
Okay,
That's the original.
so that's where it probably, you heard it, but you didn't know where it comes from, so I'm letting you know where it comes from.
Thank you. Now I know the context. So the ability to conquer the whole Eretz Yisrael, to spy out, to scout out the whole Eretz Yisrael, is not really some in the spiritual sense, meaning our insides, our character on the inside. That's something that's only commanded to a tzaddik. But the focus instead is Jericho, the external garments. To use that metaphor, the gateway to the land, Larry. Since you know about gateways,
Only in terms of the internet.
computer. I'm saying in IT, right?
He's referring to that.
Okay.
You caught on.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe tell me more about your
Well,
other gateways. I don't know.
I know about this one called Jericho.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
very good,
that's where I was going with it.
fantastic.
And the fragrance, I was going back to the fragrance.
Yes, Yericho
We're about
comes
to
from the
get
word
there?
reach.
We're about to
Yeah.
get there, right? To the land of fragrance.
I don't know how much he's going to mention the fragrance again, but yes.
We'll find out. Okay, this also explains why Jericho is described as the gateway to the land of Israel. Through the spiritual work of turning away from evil and doing good in our thought, speech, and action, and especially in examining and evaluating These three faculties to ensure that they are all directed toward the service of God. We become capable of refining and transforming our emotional traits. This is the spiritual counterpart of conquering the land of the seven nations. Ultimately, this leads to the fulfillment of the verse, the Lord your God will expand your borders, referring to the future conquest of the lands of the Canaanites, Kenizzites,
And Jebusites,
and Jeb. Huh?
No, it's the
Cam-
Cadmonites.
Hanmonites. Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, but it is the Jeb. It's like, where did they get this?
Kadmoni. No, Kenizi and Kadmoni when Mashiach comes. Yeah.
Spiritually, these represent the three intellectual faculties of soul. This will be fully realized with the coming of Mashiach. May it happen very soon.
Amen.
We want Mashiach now.
We want Mashiach now.
We want Mashiach now. We don't want to wait. We want. That's it. We got a week till Tisha B'av. We don't want another Tisha B'av. We don't want Tisha B'av. No.
Not another one.
Well, we want Tisha B'av as a day of celebration and happiness. We know that Mashiach was born on Tisha B'av. It says spiritually, physically, whatever that means. The point is that the birth of goodness and redemption is born out of the time of sorrow. So the bottom line is that when it comes to inner work and transformation and developing our character and our Yiddishkeit, it can seem like a good idea. Oh, let's go for the kill. Let's just get it all. Let's just become a tzaddik. To use the metaphor, let's send spies to the land of Israel. Moses is like, go have at it, right?
You too, but go ahead.
Right. Like you could try, but that's not the goal. The goal that's an attainable goal for every single Jew is Jericho.
Jericho.
The reach, the fragrance, which is more external, just like the garments which are external, that you could take them off and put something else on. So too is our thought, speech, and deed. That's something we can work on. That's something that we can tangibly make a change in our lives. Does that mean that our lives get any easier? No, because we got to keep working, and we're going to keep on having temptations. At least we have to assume so. We're going to keep on having those temptations, and we're going to keep on fighting those temptations and overcoming them, and using our mind to dominate our heart and keep at it. And that's the name of the game. Just keep putting on those good garments of good thoughts, good speech, and good deeds. So
Right.
that's the mission statement.
And go if you want to, but I'm not commanding you to.
To be a